to my channel. Today we're going to talk about discipline and guidance within a daycare setting. But first, if you're new here, please consider subscribing to my channel. My name is Samantha. I'm a home daycare provider, which essentially means I provide daycare out of my home for families in my community. I like to give out information to other home daycare providers. It can be a very lonely job to be at home by yourself with children all day, and it's really nice to connect with other people. So that's what I'm trying to do here. I hope you guys enjoy this video. Please hit the like button if you like it, and feel free to leave any comments or questions down below. I try to get back to you guys as soon as I can. Okay, so I feel like guidance and discipline plays a huge role within a childcare setting. Now, what is appropriate for us to do as providers versus what the parents can do is two totally different things. But I have some tips on how to guide the children within your care and to make your day a little bit easier. Because let's face it, if we have fighting 2-year-olds all day, we're going to be pulling our hair out and we're going to burn out really quick. So you need to have a pretty strict discipline policy in hand. So I have my notes here. If you see me looking down, that's what I'm looking at. So basically, I want to give you guys a little bit of like an outline of different discipline or guidance tactics that are used within a childcare setting. So the first one, probably the most well-known, would be timeout. Most kids 2 and up will be put in, well, I can't say most kids, but in a lot of daycares, timeout is used. So basically, you would take a child, you would put them in a timeout chair in the corner or wherever, and you would remove them from the situation. Now, some centers and some daycare providers use this as discipline. Some use this as a way to calm the child down. So essentially, there's 2 different roads to timeout. Some people use timeout as a way to just remove them from the situation and let them calm down. So it's supposed to be helping the child that has caused the issue. And some people use it as flat out discipline. Like, you're gonna sit out because you're mean to your friends, you don't get to play. Totally depends on the kind of provider you are and what you feel is right. I will say, check your state licensing policy, because licensing does have their own idea of discipline and guidance within a childcare setting, and you want to make sure you're following that. I have my guidance and discipline policy laid out within my handbook, and it was approved by my state. So there you go. The next type of discipline would be redirection. This is what I use for children 2 and under, and for children 2 and up who this still works for. A lot of times it doesn't work for them. But redirection. So basically, if they're fighting over a toy, you move them on to something else. You don't let them sit and dwell on this particular toy or situation. You just keep moving. You keep moving them on so it doesn't become a huge issue. The next one that I've been trained in is conscious discipline. If you don't know what conscious discipline is, please go online and look it up. I was trained at my last school on conscious discipline, and I think it's a good program for some children. And I will just kind of link some information down below. I don't want to like give you a whole blurb on conscious discipline because it is so broad and it is so in depth, and I want to make sure that you're getting all the information. So I will link it down below. So you kind of have to decide as a child care provider what is going to work best for you, what you're going to be able to kind of set forth within your program, what you're comfortable with, and what you're going to be able to stick to. So I have kind of 5 tips here that I would say you probably need to look at whenever you're making your guidance and discipline policy. So number 1 is preventative actions. So you want to have a plan in place on how you're going to prevent certain behaviors. So if little Johnny comes in and mom says, oh, he was up till 2 a.m. I had to get him up at 5 and he's here now and he's crying and he's cranky, you know that little Johnny's probably not going to have a great day. So you need to figure out a way to prevent him from having a terrible day. Now, if that situation were to happen to me, little Johnny would have some rest time before he was able to join the group. That may mean that he needs to go back to sleep for a little while. That may mean he just needs to lay on my couch and like just chill for a bit. Sometimes that may mean turning on a movie at 5 a.m. and letting him watch a movie so he can just kind of chill out and ease into his day. My daughter, Kaya, she's 2 years old. She wakes up at 6:30, but I personally feel that is not the right time for her to wake up, because when she wakes up, she's very, very, very cranky. So sometimes I will have her go back to bed, and when she wakes up later, she's better. Or sometimes she will go down for an early nap versus the other kids, and she seems to do better. She will take a good 4 or 5 hour nap and like no issue. Like she will pass out and just sleep. And then when she wakes up, she's in a much better mood. So some kids need more sleep. Some kids, need to kind of ease into the day. I mean, I do have, you know, sometimes kids come in and they're like ready to go. They're full of sugar and energy and they're great. And then sometimes they need a little bit more time to kind of warm up to the group and warm up to you. And I think just understanding where they are and understanding that child and respecting their personality and respecting the way that they need to ease into their day will really, really help your day go easier. Preventative action can also take place within the playroom when kids are playing. So if you see, you know, you're going to bring out a new toy and you know, like my daughter, she is very possessive of toys. I will sit on the floor and I will play with them. And this allows some preventative measures to take place. So everybody's going to get a turn. I'm going to facilitate. I'm going to make sure everybody gets a turn. We're going to learn how to play with this new toy. And this really helps them understand the rules, quote unquote, of playing. And it kind of just gives them a baseline for that new toy. And then you can kind of correct from there. I really think sometimes kids need a little bit of guidance. So preventing tantrums and preventing fights between kids is really going to make your day go easier. If there's something you can do to prevent it, then prevent it. If little Johnny and Susie fight over the green bowl every single day, like every day they both want the green bowl, then the green bowl goes up. Nobody gets the green bowl. I don't even bring out the green bowl because then it won't be an issue. Then I won't have to deal with it. And then eventually, you know, you start reintroducing and you teach them you're not always going to get what you want. But, you know, every single day, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to cause tantrums for no reason. Number 2 would be consequences and expectations. So I feel as though the children need to know what will happen if they do X, Y, and Z. Now this is not going to work for your younger kids. A 1-year-old does not understand if they hit someone, you're going to go to timeout. They don't get it, which is why redirection for 2 and under is pretty much, I mean, honestly, it's pretty much all you can do. They don't understand timeout. Most do not understand timeout. I can't say all, but your younger 1-year-olds and under 1, they don't understand that, and it's not age appropriate for them at all. But for your 2 and up, you want them to know what your expectation is and what the consequences are of not, I don't want to say not meeting that expectation, but essentially that's what it is. So if, you know, Johnny and Susie know if you fight over that toy, Miss Sam is going to take it away. And they know every single time they fight over a toy, I take it away. They already know what the consequence is. So the expectation there is for them not to fight over that toy, to share their toy. And the consequence is I'm going to take it away. Now this takes a ton of time from you, and it can get kind of mind-numbingly boring, and just sometimes you just want to be like, whatever, fight over the toy, whatever, have the toy, I don't care. But it is essential that you stick with it. If you say, Johnny, I will take that toy away if you do not, you know, if you and Susie fight over it, I'm going to take it away. And you don't take it away, Johnny knows you don't mean business. He's going to do whatever he wants. He knows he can fight over the toy with Susie, and you're not going to do anything about it. So you have to stick to it. You need to give them the expectation, and you need to follow through with the consequence every single time. Not when you're feeling it, not when you don't have a headache, no, you need to do it every single time so that they understand this is the consequence. I also, underneath expectations, I also feel as though the provider needs to have certain expectations for their group. So I cannot expect a group, a group of 10 2-year-olds to all share toys all the time, never fight. I can't expect that because they're going to fight. So I think, preparing your environment for, say you have 10 2-year-olds, preparing your environment for 10 2-year-olds and understanding, expecting that those things are going to come up and that you need to deal with them. And also, having age appropriate expectations for the kids. So if I'm doing a craft at the table that with like 3 and 4-year-olds and the 2-year-old only comes and sits for like 10 seconds and then gets up and walks away, that is age appropriate. 2-year-olds do not sit well, and I cannot expect them to sit for 10 or 15 minutes for a craft because the 3 and 4-year-olds are doing that. So I think having age appropriate expectations for the kids within your care is essential to their growth and their development, but also your sanity. You need to know, sometimes it's an accomplishment to get a 2-year-old to just sit for a minute, just a minute. And then letting them go and, praising them. You did awesome. You sat for a whole minute. Oh, look, you colored one line on your paper. Who cares? They did it. Just have age appropriate expectations. Don't expect your group to be perfect. Don't expect every child to react the same way. They all have different personalities. They all have, their own little way of doing things. They all have different home environments, so they're all disciplined very differently. So keep that in mind, understand that, and make sure that you're meeting each child individually, not necessarily as a group. And I know it's group care, but with discipline and guidance, you really need to meet them as individuals. The next thing would be positive guidance. I really struggle with this. I'm not gonna lie, having my own 2-year-old, and I have my 1-year-old as well, my 1-year-old in my care, but with my 2-year-old, I really struggle with positive guidance with her. But I do notice that whenever I do use positive guidance, her attitude changes. And so, guiding them throughout their day in a positive way, even if they're getting on your nerves, and they do get on your nerves, I will say that, they do get on your nerves and they do frustrate you a little bit. But I think just guiding them in a positive manner. So for instance, say Johnny and Susie are fighting over that toy, you can say, oh, Susie, I can see you really want that toy. You're gonna get a turn next, but first it's Johnny's turn. And then you redirect her to something else. Instead of yelling, no, Susie, don't fight with Johnny over that toy. No, that's not what we do. That's not positive guidance. And you're gonna get usually some pushback, or you're kind of just gonna make the kid feel bad. All right, guys, so number 5, timeout. And this, I really try not to use within my daycare setting, but I'm not gonna lie to you, there are some times when a kid just needs to go calm down. Now, people do this in different ways, and I'm probably gonna be a little bit controversial right now, but I'm gonna just do it, and if people don't like it, too bad. So, people have these things called calm down corners. They have, a quiet spot. They have their timeout chairs. They have all that. I feel as though all of those things are the same thing. They're the same stinking thing. You are taking the child, or you are sending the child to a spot away from their peers to calm down. If you do timeout correctly, it is essentially for them to calm down and to not necessarily reflect on what they did, but just to kind of remove them for a second, let them calm down, let their friends calm down, and then they can rejoin the group. When you go to a calm down corner, it's the same thing. You're just calming your body. You're just taking a break from the group. And I think, some people use the calm down spot, think that it's better than timeout, but if you're doing timeout correctly, it's essentially the calm down spot. I do set a timer if I use Timeout. I try not to use it, but you know, some of my kids need it. I will set a timer and then they can come out. If they are ready before the timer's up, then they can come out. I don't force a kid to like, you have to stay in that chair for 3 minutes and whatever. Not that I never have. My kid, yeah, absolutely. But essentially they're the same thing. And I think it's a good tactic for kids 2 and above. And I think if the other things don't work, it can be a great tactic to use, especially for a child like mine. My 2-year-old is a social butterfly. She loves to be around her friends. She likes to play, but she is very strong-willed. She is very territorial. She is in that's mine phase. She is a big girl. She's the biggest in my group right now. So she can be a little pushy. And so when I remove her and put her in timeout or in a quiet spot, she doesn't like it. It's not fun for her. And I really get a reaction out of her. And I think it really does work for her. So yeah. Timeout is a tactic that you can use if you're comfortable with it. If you're not, try these other tactics. At the end of the day, if the behavior is just completely out of control, I talk to the parents. Now, I am a firm believer in solving things within my daycare by myself. If I can solve it without having to involve the parents, I do. But there are some instances where you do have to tell the parents, look, this is the behavior that I'm seeing and I really can't have this in my daycare, so we need to work together and fix this. Instances such as biting, hitting, kicking, any sort of physical violence, foul language, things like that. I don't tolerate that within my daycare setting. So if it's a consistent behavior that I'm not able to fix on my own, the parents will be notified and they will have to either help me come up with a plan together that they implement at home, or I would have to dismiss them from my program. Because at the end of the day, remember, you do need to meet them as individuals for their own personal guidance policy or their own personal guidance plan. But at the end of the day, this is group care, and you as the provider need to do what's best for your group. And if a certain child is not best for your group, if it's not working out, then you're going to have to move them along to somewhere else. And that sounds really harsh, but realize you cannot save everyone. You cannot help everyone. And there's someone out there that can help them. And you keeping them in your care and not referring them elsewhere is doing them a huge disservice, I feel. When you can't help them, but you know there are people out there that can, for, children who may be violent or, whatever, you are doing them a disservice. You need to move them along to someone who can help them so that they can get help faster. You're not going to be a hero to everybody, and you're not going to be able to help everyone, and not every child is appropriate for your program. So understand that your piece is very important, and the safety of the children within your care is extremely important. And it is your job to protect them, and it's your job to be their advocate. So understand you're not going to be able to help everyone, and sometimes you need to dismiss children who are essentially wreaking havoc on your program. So that's basically it. I will give you kind of a little idea of what I do. I currently have five in my home. That includes my 2 daughters. So I have an 8-month-old. Obviously, there's no discipline for an 8-month-old. If she's fussy, I give her what she needs. She gets her food and she gets changed and she takes naps, and there's no guidance for her. She's just an infant. And then I have 2 14-month-olds, one being mine, and I do a ton of redirection with them. So they will fight over a toy, or they will They don't understand personal boundaries. So when my 2-year-olds are playing, the 14-month-olds may go over and take a toy. They don't understand that. So I just take the toy back, give it back to the 2-year-old and say, oh, let's go over here. Let's play with this. Oh, here's a different toy. And I kind of just redirect them. They don't get timeout or anything like that. My 2-year-olds are strong-willed, both of them. And one is my daughter, and she does get timeout. I will totally admit that she does get timeout. I also try to redirect. I try to make her my helper. So she likes to help wash dishes and she likes to help with the babies. And so I try to kind of make her my helper. I sometimes bribe them, not gonna lie. Sometimes I bust out the lollipops when it's cleanup time and we all clean up and get a lollipop. And you know, timeout is used at times, no more than 2 minutes because they are both 2. And sometimes I just need to separate them. Sometimes my daughter will go to her room and play with her own stuff and I will stay with daycare kids. Sometimes we just take a break and we put all the toys away and we read some books or we do a puzzle or we do art or whatever. We'll go outside. That seems to help. And sometimes we just need a break. We need a nap. And so we will eat lunch early and we will go take a nap. So that is what I do. I've not had any significant behavior problems within my daycare. I'm very open with my parents. If something were to happen or, you know, if I don't feel like I can handle a problem, I will let them know. And yeah, so that is how I handle guidance and discipline within my daycare. If you guys like this video, please hit the like button. If you're new here and you want to see more from me, please hit the subscribe button. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3. I've been feeling so small. Watch the clock ticking off the